What's up, guys? It is episode 1 of the Purple Ice Cream podcast. We have Alwyn Cosgrove on as our first guest. Who is Alwyn Cosgrove? Alwyn Cosgrove owns Results Fitness. He also owns Results University. He's a best-selling author. At one stage, if not still, is probably one of the most profitable gyms in America per square footage. Alwyn also has been in the fitness industry over 20 years and has helped kickstart the careers and help build not just 6-figure gyms, but 7-figure gyms. More impressively than that, Alwyn's a 2-time cancer survivor. So the goal of the Purple Ice Cream podcast is really just to bring in high-level people to extract as much information as we can to help others, to help the collective. Because for me, that's what the world needs more of. We need to do more giving back. We need to do more sharing high quality information that can actually be implemented to help people go from where they're at to sort of a step closer to where they want to go. There might be one nugget off this podcast, and if you're able to extract something unreal, we've did our job. So we're going to get into this, guys. Firstly, welcome Alwyn to Evolve Health and Performance.
What an intro. I'd have done this earlier if I knew I was going to get such a good introduction. Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course, an absolute pleasure. So guys, Alwyn has been helping me with my business. He's been helping me with Evolve Health and Performance. He's been helping me sort of stay on path or stay on track over the last, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
And it's just been absolutely amazing having someone in your corner who has been there, walked the walk, bought the t-shirt, all that. And I think just to sort of have Alwyn here today is sort of surreal for me, because it's something, when I very first heard him speak, I was like, I know I want a friendship with that guy. I was like, I know I need to network with that guy. And I think in the fitness industry, when you go to events, when you sort of see people that you would aspire to be like, I think it's important that you do everything in your power to try and make them relationships happen and make them connections natural. And I think that's how something as simple as that is going to help sort of move you forward as well.
Agreed 100%.
So first question, I'm going to keep things really simple here. I've just got a list of some questions that we want to run through. But what made you choose a fitness industry? Like, out of anything that you could have did, like, why fitness?
I think it chose me, maybe. I don't know. I was competing in Taekwondo, and there's a realization one day, and I think boxing maybe makes it the most simple. There's only 4 punches in boxing: jab, cross, hook, and uppercut. And it's the application of those, like Floyd Mayweather applies that at a different level than I would. Right? So I started realizing that competing in Taekwondo, that we all knew the same stuff, but the applications were changing. And that application comes down to physiology, right? And the reason for weight classes is because the idea is a bigger guy has an advantage over a smaller guy, right? Which is largely true, but really it means strength is an advantage. Strength is a cheat code. So I started understanding if I understood fitness and training, I could be a better athlete. So that sent me down a path that I've continued on this day, this intellectual restlessness where there has to be a better program. But more importantly than that, during when I went to college in Chester in England, and where I'm from is in Scotland, and on the south of Scotland there's this nasty area called England that's where I went to college. And anyway, I had an absolute ball there. But during that time in college, I did a paper on health and fat loss, and I wrote this program, and I gave it to my mum. And my mum died of a heart attack due to obesity when I was in college. And having followed a program that I'd given her and had produced no fat loss, that program got an A from my college lecturers, and I got an F in reality. So my idea, I think sport's never been better. The 100-meter world record is still Usain Bolt. The squat world record, the bench press world record, they're all current. The 800 meters is current. Sport's never been better, but the world's never been in worse shape. And so it sent me down a path to help. I'm more inspired to help general. I was helping one of your guys outside there. The general people, general fitness is really my passion to solve that. So I think like I became fascinated with it, and then it just I think there's a book like Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow, which is not completely true, but I really enjoy what I do. Like I read for fun what people are going to college and having to study, and my mission is to change the way fitness is done. And it's so I don't know if I chose it or I just was a calling.
Sort of comes naturally to you, like you can see even down on the gym floor. It's effortless. It's what you want to be doing. It's organic. You want the help. You want to go the extra mile. you want to sort of show your expertise so that person can most importantly improve, and that's what it's natural.
Well, I was watching Tyler and I told you what I would do with him, and then I'm watching him and I'm just got to go down. I'm just got to go down and tell him, I can't.
But that's the best. That's the best possible way to be. I think just immediately I want to see him do it. Yeah. That's where your brain is. It's it must happen just now.
I've got I've used this before, right? I was talking a little bit about injury risk and things, right? We're in Belfast where the Titanic was built, right? And the part people miss is they saw the iceberg. They saw it. They just couldn't get out of the way of it. I just know where the icebergs are.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to run into one that you can't see, but I tell you what it is. I've been there and I know what it is. So when I see somebody doing something where I'm like, man, I've got the answer, I can help this, I can't be quiet.
Yeah. So how do you, what do you think was missing from your program for it to be an A? In the real world?
I think the understanding of reality-based coaching is different. There's an idea, right? We know physiologically a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So if I cut 500 a day, excuse me, we'll lose a pound of fat a week. We know that. And so if I do 1,000 a day, we'll lose 2 pounds. And everybody's still on board with that. But if I said we do 3,500 a day, right, then we'll be losing 7 pounds a week. Nobody believes me anymore because there's an adaptation in the body. There's a compensation where maybe you train hard and the rest of the day you don't move. Maybe you diet hard, but you've got no energy, right? So it cancels it out. So the physiology exists in this test tube, right, in this microscope, right? So if you looked at muscle building through a microscope, you would conclude that weight training destroys muscle tissue and makes you weak, because that's what it does. But then in the recovery period, you become stronger and you build muscle. So I think a lot of the fat loss original studies were very acute, and they looked at what should happen, what the biology would happen. But there's a psychology as well, and psychology will beat physiology every time, right? We talked about single leg training just before we got on here. There's a part where kids want to go heavy with weights, and you need to embrace that, because single leg training might be more effective, but there's a psychology of feeling strong, and you don't want to lose that. So I think the gap between the science and the practice was psychology, and I was a whole bunch of my certifications and college degree, I never got taught how to talk to somebody, how to communicate and coach. I got taught how to do the exercise and cue it, but not how to tap into their why.
Yeah.
Right?
And how much of that how much of coaching now is literally meeting people where they're at?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to just because this worked with 3 other clients who have totally different lives, it doesn't mean to say it's necessarily going to work for that client. I think there's a lot of that in our industry. I think the sooner we sort of are able to meet people where they're at currently, and put a plan that they feel that they can actually do, that's followed by quick wins, almost boxes that get ticked. It makes the journey a lot more sustainable for them because they're building positive momentum.
Because success breeds success. Every little win. So I've always said this, right? I can give you a diet that is too hard for you. Right now, anybody can do that. I'm like, you're going to wake up at 4 a.m. and I've got the greatest diet. I'll get really strong and lean on it. So you're going to wake up at 4 a.m. and you're going to have smoked trout and parsnips. Right? You're like, already I'm not doing this, right? but telling a client to have an egg with toast is just as hard for some. You don't understand, that's just as hard for some of them, right? Yeah. Me giving you something extreme, is extreme, but for some of these clients, not having 4 sugars in their tea is just as hard. Yeah. And that's coaching. I've got to meet you where you're at and make a positive step. Right? Make one positive step. Awareness. And a positive step is that the path, I have the answer here, but you're way over here. This is just going to fail. I just got to get you on this path. Right? So that, like I said, that example of I can give you a disciplined, motivated guy a diet that you couldn't do because it's too hard. For some client, drinking a cup of water first thing in the morning that's a challenge, and that's the art form of coaching. There's a science to this, but there's also an art, because you're coaching people, and becomes a dynamic, right? And I use the phrase we. All right, Aaron, we've got to do a cup of water every morning, so we're a team. So it changes the psychology a little bit. But it's just remember, you're coaching people.
Straight away, you become someone that's in their corner.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like, I don't think people leave training gyms. We talked about this before. I think they fire coaches.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens. I had a client once get on the in-body scale, and we're doing a fat loss challenge at the gym. He gets on the in-body scale, and I was like, all right, what are you doing, Peter? And he goes, oh, I'm going to try something, see if I can win this challenge. I'm like, all right, what you got to do? He goes, oh, I'll tell you if it works. And I was like, no problem. He goes, just a reminder, I'll work for you. I goes, I want you to win. I goes, if you want to run this idea by me, I goes, I'll tell you if I think it'll work or not, because one of us has done this a lot, right, with a lot of people. And I goes, and if I don't think it works and you're still really wanting to try it, then I'll coach you through it anyway. I goes, but I work for you. And just remember, I got this when I went in the hospital. I went to UCLA hospital, and I remember one of the doctors saying, hey, you don't have to worry anymore, you're at UCLA. And it's always stuck in my head that when you come to my gym, you've probably tried something before, you're probably out of shape, you're looking for something, and all I have to tell you is, dude, don't worry, I've got you. I've got you now. You're at Results Fitness now.
That's
you don't
really
have to
cool.
worry, right? We're on a team, right? And I'm good at this.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really cool. I love that. Absolutely love that. So next up, like, for those that know you will know this story, and I think this question answered itself when you know who Alan is. But what was the most significant turning point in your career?
Oh man, there's a few. My dad got made unemployed when I was young, and I couldn't. I was doing taekwondo, and I couldn't afford lessons anymore. And you probably had like a client just disappear at one point, right? Somebody just disappears and you don't know what happened. I wasn't going to be that guy. So that was one of the first ones. So I went to see my instructor and I said, listen, my dad's lost his job and we can't afford lessons, and I'll be back when he gets a job. And the story gets mixed up a little bit, that he gave me a job and he paid me in lessons. It sounds like he trained me for free, didn't he? Gave me an opportunity, and I still want to be him when I grow up. After this weekend, I'm going to go see him, hopefully too. That idea of someone who can take a kid and make his life different through selflessness, just because he could, that made me want to be a coach. That changed the direction of everything in my life. I mean, as a result of that, I became a black belt. I made it to the national team. I travelled. I moved to the US because of it. Just because one guy said, like, you won't be back when your dad gets a job. You'll be back on Wednesday, and you'll be back an hour early, and you'll teach the kids class for me. So changed. Just a human being could elevate another human being. I want to do that to people.
What sort of values were instilled in you through him then? Like what? Because it's obviously been a massive turning point for you, was like that conversation alone. And I'm sure you have used something similar to help a lot of people for free as well. In fact,
I think believing that this, I mean, perhaps I was talented and he saw something, I don't know. But you never got to let that guy down.
Yeah,
you're never got to let that guy down. Like, you realise that suddenly you're like, man, I'm going to, he's asked me, he's put his business in my hands to teach him, and I'll give him everything I've got, right? And I just, like, you couldn't, like, I've got a whole bunch of turning points. I did a whole talk called The Ripple Effect, all these little moments where my life changed. There's a movie, I've been in America too long, a film called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. And what happens is she comes down the stairs at the London Underground and she makes the train just as the doors close. And then the screen splits and she misses the train. And how her life's completely different as a result of that little incident. It'll mess your head up when you watch it, because you're like, should we finish this podcast now or now? Yeah, right? And your life's different. But there's that moment, like growing up in Scotland on a housing estate's a different place than I live now. And that kept me out of a lot of trouble. And you can't let that guy down, and it doesn't force you to work, it makes you want to work. And I remember him giving me a lift home one day and he just said this throwaway comment that his dad had taught him this. He goes, books are amazing things. It takes forever to write a book. You've got a guy's whole life work in that book. And he goes, and you can read it. He goes, if you can read, you can learn anything that anybody's ever learned. And it just stuck in my head because he said to me, he goes, you realise you learned Taekwondo and you didn't know it? And I was like, yeah. He goes, no, you learned it. You understand that? You learned it. I'm like, all right, my instructor's having a seizure. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. But his lesson was is that if you can learn this, you can learn anything. And he goes, you just got to try. And I just, like, we've talked earlier, like, what do I want to learn and who's the best in the world at it? Let me just go ask him. Right? Like, it just, like, it's, the cheat code's written in front of you. Right? Like, you're not allowed to cheat in school. Right? You're not allowed to copy off somebody's work at school. But the rest of my life, that's exactly what I've done. Right? I've asked other people for the answers. Right?
How crazy is that? Like, you are taught that in school. You're taught, like, do not copy anyone else's work. Almost like, do not ask your peer for help. Their work's their work, your work's yours. Whereas in the real world, in business, it's the total opposite.
Exactly. Right? Aaron's great at math. I'm like, help me with this. You're like, no, you can't ask him. Go fail. Like, and another issue with school is if you got 5 Bs, like, you're doing well. If you got 1 A and failed everything else, you're doing badly. But in my life, I look for a mechanic who got an A. I don't care what he got in English. Like, I want specialists in my life. I don't want generalists. I don't want generalists.
Yeah, that's really. So that was sort of like my next question was, again, a lot of personal trainers looking in on this, a lot of gym owners and stuff. I feel like from being that guy, and I'm still that guy, every time I make an investment to hire someone or to do something new or to do a refurb in the gym, for example, like something like that as well, it's like there's always that anxiety of, fuck, I'd have to part with this money. So it's how do you, who's been in investing and been in business so long, like how do you mentally look at investing in coaching and looking at investing in services to take you to the next level? How do you frame that?
That's a good question, and it's quite good because Aaron just memorised that question because I don't know if you noticed watching the video, he dropped his notes right there. So I'm thinking that's quite impressive. Remember that. So you basically summed it up. You've got to think of things as investments and not expenses, right? If you gave me £100 right now and I gave you 101 back, that's a 1% return. When would you stop? You do that all day long, right? So I think of that as well. If you were getting 10% in the stock market in a year, you'd be super excited, right? But you're thinking like, I'm going to go to a course and it's £1,000. That's expensive. If you could make 1,100 because of that course in the next year, you've crushed it. And you'll make more than that, especially when you invest in knowledge, because the knowledge doesn't go away, right? Investing in equipment, investing in upgrading the gym, it'll make you more money in the short term, but eventually that does go away. Knowledge doesn't. Investing in yourself always pays the best interest. But I know it's hard. Like I'll see people pick up a book and go like, is this book worth it? I'm like, that book's £10. Like what knowledge would you have to get out of this book to make that a worthy investment for you? £10 and 50 pence. Like, like that would be a good return. Or maybe you learn from this book that I don't care about anything else this author has to say. That's still valuable. But it is a mindset that if you go to a seminar and just do a quick show of hands, hey, what did you guys spend to come here? And they'll put their hands up. Anybody puts their hand up, got it wrong. You spent nothing. It's an investment. You're just looking for a return on investment. And it's literally the if I had an envelope in my pocket full of cash and I'll give it to you for 75% of what's in this envelope, and you can ask me one question. The only question you're going to ask me is how much is in that envelope so that you make a good offer. The question you would ask if you were focused on the expense is, let me check my bank account to see what I can afford. But if you know there's $1 million here and all you have to do is offer me 750k, that's the only answer you need because you understand you'll be making money right away. Like it's an investment, not an expense. And it's easy to say, it is hard to do, right? You've got to train your mind to think about that. Like if I invest this, I'm not spending it on new flooring in the gym. I'm not spending it on a course. I'm investing it and I'm going to get my money back tenfold. Or even like I said, 10%. Like if you're gambling £10 to win 100, you're chasing something. But if you're gambling 100 to win 10 and get your stake back 110, you're probably going to be more successful. But that's still a bigger return on investment. But it sounds easy to say, but you do have to train it. You've got to train the mind that there's very few pure expenses when it comes to business. Most things are investments.
Yeah, love that. So we're talking to someone that has had lunch with Richard Branson at Richard Branson's Island.
Yeah.
So that's the level of investing you've took it to. With a conversation with Richard Branson, what was the big take home from that?
So you've got to come with better questions, right? Like if you've got the chance to ask, like even at our level, if you've got a chance to ask us at a seminar a question, don't be asking me how long you should hold a side plank for, right?
Yeah,
you should be
yes.
asking higher level questions. So I was asking him, when does he know when to get out of a business and when to get in? And his answer was, first of all, it has to be fun. It has to excite him personally, and it has to be challenging to existing alternatives, right? He goes, I have to be able to solve the problem that exists. He goes, Virgin Atlantic is a better airline than the competition. And all the things he did was, it has to be fun and excite him personally. Because I was talking about, like, when do you get out of a business? And he goes, he actually just has somebody take it over for him, because at one point it was fun and exciting and it still works. But his biggest thing was, I have to see a way I can do this better. Yeah. Like, I didn't do group exercise at Results Fitness. We have semi-private training and team training, which is like group classes. To explain it, I didn't do that until I thought I was the best at it. Like I couldn't say, man, I'm doing this better than anybody. It just was kind of the same as everybody. Yeah. So that, talking to him, you ask those kind of questions, and often you ask things like, what motivates you? And the answer's there, like when he tells me. But that one, like, it has to be fun and exciting. But mainly, it had to be, that thing stuck in my head. It has to be challenging to the status quo. Like, I've got to come in and disrupt this.
That's class.
Like, I'm not coming in and I'm not opening another Starbucks. Right, I'm going to open something spectacular.
Yeah, that's sick. I watched that film, The Founder, last night. I watch it all the time. It's just one of the movies I absolutely love. If you haven't seen it, The Founder is all about the McDonald's franchise.
Yeah, Ray Kroc.
Oh, Ray Kroc. Yeah, he's an absolute savage in it. He's that savage in the movie. So when it come to the McDonald's brothers, they weren't as driven and like hungry, just business savages. And he came to doing one of the final deals, and he said to them, listen, boys, long story short, if my competition are drowning, I will go and put a hose in their mouth. Can you guys say you'll do the same? I thought that was so insane. But that's the level that he was willing to go to be like, I will disrupt, I will change, I will transform. And the whole McDonald's franchise was built really around him trying to sell milkshakes, but him experiencing shit level service from every other restaurant in the country. Yeah, and that's why you see them. Special. Yeah, and that's why you see them everywhere now. So I thought that was class.
It's interesting too, because a lot of fitness trainers who will be the first audience for this podcast, I expect, they see McDonald's and their instinct is junk food, obesity, unhealthy. But when you start thinking like a business owner, you see this massively scalable model run largely by high school kids on the front line, right? And that, like, if you get a Big Mac in Belfast, it's the same in LA. It's the same.
It's crazy.
Like I don't know if 2 workouts in my gym are exactly the same with 2 coaches. These guys are delivering French fries in Singapore the same as they're delivering it in Glasgow. You know, that think about that from a business perspective. Art. Forget the thing, think of the model, and you can learn from it.
Yeah, that's an art though. That's an art to have so much like structured and happening at once. It's so amazing. So,
and most people think they can make a better hamburger than McDonald's. If I ask people, can you make a better hamburger than that cheeseburger at McDonald's? Everybody says yes. Yet no one is giving you millions of dollars for your recipe, because you don't have the systems that they have.
Yeah, and the fact they go even beyond that to become like, well, they own the property.
Real estate.
It's just so McDonald's are for anyone who doesn't know, are one of the biggest real estate, holding companies in the world as well, which is insane. So, we've talking a lot about investing. It's only fair that I ask you these 2 questions. So what is the best investment you've ever made versus the worst investment you've ever made?
I mean, to reiterate, the best investment was probably hiring. I had this little lone wolf thing in the beginning that I was going to figure it all out by myself, and just be this lone warrior, right? And then and just
fly the flag.
It's just absurd when you think about it, right? That I could just ask people and they would tell me. So the best investment was I'm gonna go. It was hiring one of my first business coaches, but it was actually a step before that, and investing in courses, right, from business people and understanding business. Like, I was a black belt in training and a white belt in business. Like, I was a beginner at business, and even just getting me up to like mid-level skills with that transformed me financially. Worst investment, I don't know. I mean, it's that thing like. I've never made a mistake. I've just had some learning opportunities that didn't pan out as planned, right? So that's I don't know, probably crypto recently.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, I think I'm wired to find the lesson in the negative.
Well, even in the crypto situation, like we were talking off camera earlier, like we were talking about the crash in crypto. We're talking about, well, it's only gonna come back. Like, it's
playing
not,
a long time.
Yeah.
You weren't thinking of doubling your money in a week anyway, right?
No.
So yeah, I think most of anything that I've probably invested in courses that weren't good, but I learned that this course wasn't good. That's valuable in itself, right? But in general, it's investing in myself and my own education is just I outperform the stock market with my own knowledge.
Yeah, that's
right.
class.
Like that's how I think of it. But I think it's part of my mindset is it's a joke. I've never had a mistake. I've just had some things that didn't plan out the way I thought. But I it's hard to see what's been a mistake because I've responded. I've heard Warren Buffett say he doesn't care what the stock market does. He adjusts and makes money. Like, he sells or buys according to what's going on. He just reacts, and it's I think it's like a sports team. You're adapting, right? So yeah, it was a mistake, but as a result of that, you change strategy and you change tactics, and now it becomes a success as a result of that mistake.
I think that's been one of my biggest insights from spending time with people who are, like, you know, quite highly successful. Yeah. I think one of the key behaviors that I always notice is the speed at which they respond. So when everything is burning down around them, it's the speed of putting out fires as well, and just turning that situation into something even better. Yeah. There's always that element of the high performers where, yes, there might be a bit of like stress, but they're so tuned into how do we solve the problem.
Well, your identity is not attached to the thing. It's when the lockdown happened in California, they announced that at noon and we had to be closed by 6. By 4, we had shot 60 exercises and had workouts for people to do at home uploaded to the Facebook page. You just we got to pivot and move. Right? Like we just but this game is won like that, right? Were the videos perfect? No. Did we have the background perfect? Would it sound good? Probably not. But I was up and running. Before we had to close, those people that were training that night had their workout sent to them, bodyweight workout. The next day, I had a list of equipment that they could rent out and take home. Like, we're just moving. It's the business is done fast.
Don't get it perfect, get it going.
Yeah, you've got to move. Like, you don't have to be great to get. You don't have to be great to get going, but you do have to get going to be great.
Yeah, so true. So let me ask you this: from everything that you have sort of accomplished in your life, obviously we've did some big books, we've had some massive success with speaking, you know, crazy success in the gym industry. So for you, like, how do you plan? This is an interesting question, but I know that, like, nothing really happens or really gets accomplished without a plan. Have you got like a crash course or that you could give to people that they could do to set themselves up for success that little bit better?
So I think that the first part is you cycle back to, like, you don't have a job to have a job. You have a job as a vehicle to improve your lifestyle, right? So a lot of people, like, they're like, I want to run a gym like Results Fitness. I want to run a gym like Evolve. And you're like, well, what? When we do that, what happens? What does your life look like? So people go to college to get a better job so that they can get money, so they can be happy. They find a partner in life, a husband or a wife, so that they can have a partner together so they can be happy. They do this hobby that brings them pleasure so they can be happy. They do the thing to get happy. What makes you happy? Just skip to that. Right, so I design my life and I reverse engineer it to how it looks. Like, I was I was telling you earlier that I have no appointments on Fridays typically. It can be a catch-up day or it can be an off day. My work has to get done in 4 days. If I can't get it done, this is a crazy week, right? That's by design, right? Like you already have non-negotiables. You don't train anybody at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, right? They're like, I'm not doing that. Well, why not make it that we have a half day on Friday? That's the rules. That's how I do things. So I set goals based on the outcome, and then I reverse it. If you wanted to bench press 100 kilos in a year and you can bench press 50, well, we know we have to be up to 75 in 6 months. So we know that we have to be at 62 and a half in 3 months, right? And we break it down into manageable steps. And I never leave the sight of a goal without taking an action step. So if I decide like we're going to work to grow, evolve, and I'm like, right, we've identified 20 former members that I think we can get back. Let's call 5 right now. Like, let's make the action step right now. But scale it up. What does success look like if we do this? And how does it translate to your life? Like, what does your life look like? This business is, we don't fit your life around your business. The business is the vehicle to support your life. So we start with lifestyle design, and it's a very soft topic. But where do you want to wake up? What time? What do you got to do in the morning? What are you going to do in the afternoon? What does your evenings look like? I mean, unless you win the lottery, you're going to have to make some money. How do you make money? Do you do it in a shop? You do it in a gym? You do it online? How do you do it? And what do you like? Like, you can make money. I can make money doing Zoom business consulting. There's only so much of those I can do before it really tires me out, and it tires me out, and I start to not be good at it, and that's not fair on your clients. So I'm like, this is a piece. I can do this. I can't do this 12 hours a day. Like,
No.
you design your life and work backwards. So my planning is all about how it's going to impact my life, right? Like, if I could double your income in the next year, if you just want to double your work hours, you're like, oh, I'm not interested, right? Everybody has that. They're just not clear with it.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people know what they won't do. Like, I hate that. I'm not doing that. Like, what do you like to do? Let me do that part. Let me figure that part out, and we'll build it around that. So my planning, my goal setting is how it impacts, at this point in my career, how it impacts my day-to-day in my life.
That's class. That's absolutely class. So another one, sort of, this is the question that I want to ask the most people. This is the one for me, and the reason I want this one is because, like, I've had massive shifts. I've got a daughter due next week. Shout out. When you guys see this episode, she'll probably be here. So
in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle somewhere.
Join the next episode.
But I think my mind has totally changed. My values have totally shifted, and for me, it's like, what does the next 10 years look like for Aaron? And I know clearly what my goals and stuff are inside of that. But as you set bigger targets, what I find is the pressure and stress and costs to hit that next level, because there are costs involved to go from here to here in business, from my experience anyway. So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with the pressure of what it takes to leave where you're at, where it's comfortable, where it's been good, it's been great, to hit that next level? Because there comes an element in business, surely, where it becomes less about the lifestyle entrepreneurship, where everything's fucking great, versus I actually have to make some selfless sacrifices here to hit this stuff.
I think, honestly, it's, if I was younger, I'd give a different answer. Right now, I see a scalability to everything. There's a ceiling to a lot of things, and I get antsy when I'm not changing. Like, I'm like, this, there's only so, like, I was breaking down 100 new members at 70% renewal. Your gym is going to be flat in 5 years. There's nothing you can do. You've got to reinvent it. And when you start being aware of this, around about year 3, you start getting an itch, right? So I actually get uncomfortable at not growing, and I change the fear and excitement feel the same. You just can't explain it. Like, the ability to level up and play up is a blessing. Yeah, right. You can play in the game. Like, you want, how do you get a meeting with Richard Branson?
That's fun.
You can make it happen. Like, maybe not right now, but you can make it happen. Like, you can like, you're in a unique situation as an entrepreneur. Like, you can, like, you want a new car, you want a boat, you want a vacation to Vegas. It's going to cost $3,000. How many sales is that? How many members is that? Is that 10 members? It's 10 members this month. Can we get 10 members? What would we have to do to get 10 members and then we go to Vegas? Right? Like there's the leveling up part happens to me because I'm uncomfortable staying at the same place. This is not a blessing always, by the way.
No,
it can become a curse
fuck.
that I'm just like, it becomes too, I become like, I'll be walking around the gym and I'm like, I just need to move stuff around. This looks the same as it was a year and a half ago. I've got to move stuff around for just for the change, just to see maybe it's better this way, right? And I think that I have this intellectual restlessness that there has to be a better way to do this. There has to be. This can't be it. We've not cracked it. Why are we so bad at fat loss? Why are the results so slow? Why are my athletes not stronger, faster? Like, and why is my gym not even more profitable? Why is anybody even able to compete with me?
And this is when you're winning, you're thinking like this.
Yeah.
You know, this is when you're winning, when most people take their foot off the gas.
But without being negative,
it's not a negative.
But I'm just, you're always striving for something.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you win a race and you run the slowest you've ever run, the reality is you just underperformed.
Yeah.
Like just everybody else underperformed worse than you. So you're like, that's not to be proud of.
Nah, it's
right?
not the win.
Similarly, if you get a PR and you don't win, you're like, it's the best you've ever done. But there's a room there. There's a place to go. You can see that somebody can be faster, right? So it's I think we have two psychologies that drive us. One is I moved up weight classes when I was fighting to fight harder people because I had this weird need for achievement to do something bigger. And other people have a fear of failure that trying something new, and it'll manifest itself in different ways. Like they'll do a marathon with no training as a built-in excuse. Like I didn't even train for this. Right? It's a real fear of failure that if they tried and failed, like I used to see guys at taekwondo tournaments all the time, and I'm like, are you in shape here and you've been training? The usual answer is, no man, I've not been training at all. Like I had the worst preparation ever. I'm like, get the excuses lined up right now as to why I'm not going to do well. But I never had that. I'd be like, oh, I'm in great shape. Somebody's getting fucked up today, right? I'm ready. But it's the, and I think everybody has a balance, right? A need for achievement and a fear of failure. And I think entrepreneurs at a certain level are wired this way. Like, why is Richard Branson doing anything? When he gets out of his room on his private island and he looks across the ocean, you know what he sees? His other private island, right? Like, how do you think about, you know what? I don't have enough private islands. How do you,
it's the game.
He's wired differently, right? And it's just, and it's not, none of it changes his personal income. He's really real philanthropy. He gives a lot of money back. There's a lot of things, but man, there's a wiring to that guy that I'm nowhere close to.
Could you see his brain just going when you were with him?
When he walked us around the island, like he walks fast. Like he'd take us to, we'd eat and then we'd go to show us something, and he's walking fast. And while he's walking, he's on the phone talking to somebody, right? And then we get there and he shows us something, and he goes off to the side and he's on the phone talking to somebody. And he never stops, man. He's like he high speed, he's having fun with it. But so I think that the next level, I have this uncomfortableness staying the same. So it's actually the reverse. It's not a fear of reaching out and putting that investment. It's a fear of staying here. I don't think you can actually stay anywhere.
Yeah,
I think you're either getting better or you're like at any one point in time you're losing body fat or gaining it. It may balance out to be no change, but at any instance it's going one way or the other, right? And I think business is like that too. Right now with inflation, if you're staying the same, you're going down, right? Like it's like everything is worth less. So it's this drive for achievement that's, like I said, it's not always a blessing. It's sometimes uncomfortable. Like we're driving around today and we're seeing empty buildings. We're like, it'd be a great place for a shake bar. You can't switch it off. Like you put a gym in there. Look at that place. Why is there nobody putting a karate school in there? Right? Like you can't turn it off. Like you get good service in a restaurant, you get bad service, and you're thinking how you'd fix it.
Yeah, straight away. So, in a world that's sort of highly competitive with a lot of stuff fighting for your attention now, because I feel like if you're not almost like creating content now, you're consuming it.
Yeah.
So like, how do you limit that side of it? Like, are you careful with what you consume? Are you careful with who you consume? Is it free for? I would assume it's not a fucking free for all with you, but I know for a lot of people it is, especially trainers and gymmers who get distracted so much from just scrolling bullshit and not actually doing anything.
Yeah. So if you understand social media, their job is to keep you on social media. So I had a friend of mine during the lockdown in California got hammered during the lockdown, and he's like, I gotta get off social media. It's so negative. And I goes, well, you read a story that's negative. It doesn't know how you respond. It just knows you read it. So it shows you more of that, right? And you read that. So you're like, I think social media is negative. My social media is full of puppies, dogs, soccer games. Like it's full of, sorry, I've been in America too long, football games. I started making sure I liked things I liked that brought positivity to me. Like I can destroy you mentally with a few comments that will get in your head. The iceberg, most of it's under the water. It's not at the top because I'm planting it in your head, right? And you know people can do that to you. They can be negative and put something that hurts you, right? Or as an insult and it puts it in your head. But you do that to yourself way more, right?
Yeah.
So everything that you put in your head is like planting a seed. And I have a little phrase that your mind is a garden, your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. So you got to protect what goes in your head. So I consume very little content, right? And I filter it based on if I'm studying this person and what they're doing, which is what I call goal achieving work. I'll follow companies that I think are doing good work or individuals that are intelligent, or I'll read like good books and I'll put that good content in. But sometimes I'm just looking at dogs chasing a hose, and that's what I call tension relieving. It's all right to have some fun. It's the mindlessness that gets you.
Yeah.
Because you're downloading the software, like we talked earlier, we're downloading the software all the time. Just make sure you're downloading the good stuff,
Literally.
right? Like, but it's I try to create only good material, and there's something interesting. I became perhaps a spokesperson for the industry during the lockdowns, and I was posting every couple of weeks why gyms should be essential. Right? In California, alcohol was considered essential business. They didn't close. Marijuana, which was banned a couple of years ago in California, was considered an essential business. They didn't close. Indoor exercise was illegal.
What's more essential, marijuana or alcohol?
Like both of those were considered very essential, but standing on a treadmill is considered dangerous, right? So I kept posting these things on Instagram, and they were my most popular post by far. But every time I looked, it was a comment with people agreeing with me, but it was it's still a negative thing, right? It was negative. You're still closed. Gyms are considered garbage. Yeah. You're closed, and it set me in a dark place where I'm like, my own content is making me unhappy.
Yeah.
So I had to stop it, right? So I only want to be a voice for positivity. And I try my best to just only put out positive things now. And as a rule, I try to only consume that. And if you're a friend of mine, you post negative things on Facebook, it's 1 and 1 yellow card and it's red card. I can't have that in my head. I think your mind is too powerful to program bullshit into it.
Yeah, facts.
Right?
Facts.
So it's just like a lot of fitness professionals, you don't drink to excess, you don't smoke cigarettes, you don't do stuff that makes your body unhealthy. Guard your brain the same way. Put good stuff in your mind.
So true. Love that. Right. This is gonna help a lot of people. So you were stage 3, right?
Stage 4.
Stage 4 twice.
There's no stage 5.
No stage 5. Stage 5.
Stage 5. Well, that is. It's dead.
Yeah,
called dead.
Toast.
Okay.
So, Alan obviously cancer survivor twice. So how do you look after your body now? Like what advice would you give to someone who's maybe recovering from cancer, currently has cancer, still wants to keep their body right? Like what does that look like?
So the biggest thing is people survive, right? I don't care what the odds say. At each stage of anything, there's always this has a 1% survival rate. I'm like, cool, that's me, right? Like I remember being in a room and reading the survival rates of the cancer I had, and I was looking around the beds, And then I realised there was maybe 4 people in the room who weren't going to make it. And it never crossed my mind that one of them was me. Right? So there's a mindset part of this. Like, and I've used this, you'll get this right now because I've used it with you. If you're in a jiu-jitsu match or an MMA match, picture it, right? It's two athletes that are really matched closely. And then one just gets the advantage slightly and catches the other in a rear naked choke and then starts to squeeze. What would you do in that situation? Now, most people will answer with some type of defense, right? How they get out of it. I would keep squeezing because I assume I'm the guy with the advantage, right? My mindset is that I'm going to be winning this game, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the game, the basketball game's 98 to 96, and you've got the ball at the 3-point line with 3 seconds to go. What do? Yeah, sure. I run out the clock because I know I'm winning already, right? You've got to have that mindset that you're going to win. And so for me, self-care I need to be resilient, right? I think when you're younger, like you go out and you have a dozen pints and the next morning you feel terrible and it takes you a few years to link the reason why. You think it's a coincidence. You're like, I had 12 pints, like the one we used to say in Scotland, I must have had a bad pint. Because I must have had a bad kebab.
Bad 12 pints.
Bad at the end of the night. But then you make the link that eating crappy, I feel crappy. Right? Right. And a lot of people don't make that link. They're like, oh, I ate crappy and man, I feel rough today. Because you ate crappy. Well, I felt really sick. I was vomiting every day and I had chemo and I don't want to feel ill. Uh-huh. So everything goes into this self-care that like, I need to drink my water. I need to train. I need to exercise. I need to take my nutrients. And still bad things can happen. Right? Lance Armstrong got cancer. Still bad things can happen. But you have to, like, if you, like I said this actually during COVID, if you knew it was coming next year, what would you do? You get in shape, right? You'd be like, I'm going to, like, there's a respiratory infection coming that could knock me on my arse. I'm going to be 40% better cardio before it comes. I'm going to, in case it becomes a zombie apocalypse, I'm going to build some blunt force trauma punching strength, right? So I think psychologically it's this understanding that you're going to win. And this, like that will I take the shot? You'll take the shot because you assumed you were losing, right? Even though you thought you'll make the shot. Like I assumed I'm winning.
I get what you're saying.
So I ran
straight away.
So again, easy to say, but you train yourself, you train your mind with that, you train it again.
And how do you train that?
Positive. So here's what I did.
Rubber band, was it?
A rubber band. I'd snap it and I would say out loud, cancel. And I would rephrase it in the positive. Like, I can't afford this course. Negative, cancel. I don't have to lie. How can I afford this course? Now your brain starts looking for solutions.
Yeah, so true.
Right? Like, what am I in, like, I can't control, I'll hire the experts to help me with cancer, right? They'd give me I can't control that. What can I control? I can control my mindset. I can control my hydration. I can control my rest. There's no excuse for me to have late nights partying when you're fighting, right? Like, so there's really that side of it. And then there's a big lesson for anybody. Like, the one thing that was helpful for me is if you knew you only had 3 months to live, what would you do differently right now? And then this is the creepy part, right? How do you know you don't?
Oh,
right?
Everyone's like, fuck it, am I all right?
No, I don't mean you have a disease, you're hit by a bus or something, right? But,
I know what you mean.
But if you knew the clock was ticking and you had a last, what would your life look like?
Yeah, how do you react?
Let's do that now. Let's live like that. Without being reckless. You've still got to make money. You've still got responsibilities. But don't defer your life for later. Because who knows? I've watched my dad work hard. We never had holidays as kids. We were poor. He worked all the time. We never went anywhere. We didn't have a lot. And he retired. He doesn't have the health to enjoy it now. Like, he just deferred his whole life. And it's not there. You know? I'm not going to do that. He's just sitting on a chair now. You know? Like so. But it's not to end in I don't want you feeling the least bit sorry for me because I'm having a ball, right? But just think about that, like make yourself as resilient as possible, right? Turn your, like, I use with my male clients, like, I tell them, you got to weaponize this body. You're the provider for this family. You got to be ready for anything. And I don't mean fighting skills. I mean, you just got to be ready. Your cardio's got to be on point. You got to be strong. You got to be able to pick up the kid and the wife and the dog and run out the burner building.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine not being physically able to do that.
And there's a lot of people like that's what our gyms exist for. Our gyms exist to help them people.
And I think that's part of why I thought gyms should be essential. Is like we lost our way because it's about abs and butts and looking good. It's actually about transforming people's lives and function. Yeah. You're building warriors out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you're building
some
bulletproof
guys.
Yeah.
Keep it simple then. Like this question, what advice would you give to your younger self? And we'll get wrapped up.
My much younger self would be invest in Google and Yahoo and buy those things. Honestly, I think lose that lone wolf guy, right? Just people are there. Like I had an instructor teaching me Taekwondo. I had a swimming instructor who was learning to swim. The first thing I was ever really pro at was business. Now I'm going to try to do that on my own. Yeah. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Like this is the first thing I was pro at, and I'm like, I don't need anybody's help. Well, there's millionaires out there who've went before me. So I think it would be, get over yourself and ask for help faster. And then just continue, do everything that I've done. I wish I'd started earlier. Right? The biggest lesson is everything I know, I either learned it or I earned it. Right? I learned it from books, mentors and coaches, or I earned it through mistakes. That second one's expensive. The first one saves you a lot of time. So learn like your life depends on it, man, because maybe it does.
And what's next for you?
Live happily ever after.
Yeah.
I think it's, when you start coaching and your athletes, like you're more excited about them than your own training. Like I think at some point my instructor was more excited seeing me winning than he ever was winning himself. I like watching guys like yourself and other like business clients I have do amazing stuff. Like it feels like maybe you'll have a little bit of a legacy, right? Like cool. I can't help everybody, but I can help a bunch of business owners who can help a bunch of people. And like, if you think about what we do, right? If I can impact one person, then I can impact that person's whole family. And I can impact that one person through fitness and nutrition and my superpowers and my coaching skills. I can impact a small business or a large business or a government or the world, right? At the heart of all that is just a person. If I can help that person, I can change the world. I just need more people to help.
Yeah, that's sick.
Like you take that kid out there and you make him a better human being through your skills and everything that you know how to do, and he goes on to be president of the world and changes everything. Like never underestimate the next interaction you've got to have.
Yeah.
But that's my so leave a legacy. At this point, it's probably leave a legacy that I think I saw it in your sign. Leave this industry better than it was when I showed up.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that's what's so cool. Like us even evolve, being in a position now to like, yeah, we've invested heavily in coaching, but we still want to give back. Like being in a position to bring Alan over to shoot this podcast, to help people, to go and speak on stage to like 200 people tomorrow, to help all them people. We're going to see the effect of today 3 years from now when these guys rise up, take action and make the industry a better place. Like there's no question like this trip the ripple effect of it will be massive, and that's what I love.
And I think seeing that vision is important, because you don't like I said, if you give me £100, I give you 101 back right now, right? You'll do that all the time because it's a short transaction. If you give me £100 now and I give you 10 back in a year from now, a lot of guys won't take that because it's too long.
Yeah,
that's 10 times the return.
Literally.
You just got to wait for it, right? And so the impact that we've got to make at this conference, it would be great if it happens next week, right? But it's going to take time for that to return. And I think at that point, I'm been fortunate enough to see some stuff I've done earlier. I see paying off.
Yeah.
Right. I'll see things. So it's just that there is that, seeing that vision, that it's that this is the work. Like you don't get stronger today in the gym. You get stronger over time. by adding weight to the bar and adding the reps and being consistent. And in 3 years from now, you're a monster. Like you're a completely different human being, right? Literally. But you don't train on a Saturday and be stronger on a Sunday morning, right? True. But seeing that ripple effect and knowing your impact for that vision, that's the power in seeing that is magical. Don't discount that. This is going to pay back. I know this will pay back later, but I have to do the work tonight. Yeah. Right.
So I could show you books from maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago probably, where I had written like everything I have now. Genuine, like I could literally show you them books. And it's, you have, like, the vision is what's going to drive it. Like I always remember doing them long shitty hours, like 4:30 to 11 o'clock at night, like 4:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, and always saying, I am not going to work. It's not possible to work this hard and not get a result. It's not possible. Like that was always in my head. Yeah. And even now, like to what's going to happen next for us, it's like I know what's coming, and I know what, we talk about non-negotiables. Knowing what you're prepared to give as well is just, it's so.
There's actually, so if you look up, there's a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah. It talks about your chief purpose and you write it down. If you look up either chief purpose or chief aim and Bruce Lee on Google, you see his handwritten notes that what he wants, when he wants it, and what he's prepared to do. And he read it every day. He wanted to be the #1 star in the US, have a net worth of this, and in exchange, here's what I'm prepared to give. And it's just exactly that. There's a, like, I don't want to get all like religious and spiritual. There's a power in writing something down where it becomes real, not on your phone, handwritten. And people will have a hard time with this because at that point it becomes real. Yeah. Like, I will do this. You wrote it now, and it just, when you set your sights on that and you put it in writing, like your own contract with what you're prepared to do for it, the universe conspires to help you. Well, it removes the roadblocks for you.
That's like the Kobe Bryant thing. It's like, I made a contract with myself. Yeah. Like I made it, here's what I was willing to do. It was that contract with myself. It was, I will be the hardest worker in the weight room. I will be the hardest worker on the court. I will be earlier than everyone. I will stay later than everyone. It was like, and then all of a sudden.
I brought Kevin Eastman in, who was assistant coach with Doc Rivers. He was at the Celtics and he's at the LA Clippers. And he said he watched, I believe it was Kobe, and a kid did a drill or a movement and Kobe couldn't get it. And he goes, he just watched Kobe just on the court practice. And he goes, how long are you going to stay at practice? And he just goes, until. That's it. Like, just like a different, that Mamba mentality, right?
It's elite.
It's the, I mean, it's controversial to talk about him now, Will Smith. Yeah. There's a great video of him just saying, if we both go on a treadmill, 2 things are going to happen. You're going to get off or I'm going to die. Yeah. He goes, because I will not be outworked. Yeah. Right? Are you, like, I believe that. I believe there's people more intelligent than me and have better resources. I can't control that, but I can absolutely control that I will not be outworked. Right? And that's the, like I said, you got to hydrate, you got to get your rest, because you got to be you got to be on tomorrow. Yeah. You need a good night's sleep. You need to be smart because you got to be on tomorrow. And I think about that every day of my life. I got to be on tomorrow, right? And it's that, like, what, I will not be outworked, and in order to outwork you, I have to out-prepare you by being ready.
Well, the body's the vehicle that makes it happen. Like,
yeah, you gotta. You only get, if you had one car the rest of your life, you only got one. You take good care of it, right?
It would be clean.
Right. That's the same with the body.
So, last thing then, where can people find out more about you? Where's the best place to get you? What how can people work with you directly? Like, what does our coach faction look like?
So the easiest place to find me is either on Facebook, it's Coach Alwyn Cosgrove, or Instagram's Alwyn Cosgrove. My website's resultsfitnessuniversity.com. And in there I have a membership website where I post videos and content every month, and I do Q&A, and if you start following me on social, you'll find all my stuff. So thanks for having me.
Unbelievable. First episode of the Purple Ice Cream podcast wrapped up. The special guest, Alwyn Cosgrove, all the way from California. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you found this video useful, like this video, share this video, comment on this video. We're going to do a ton more of these, and we're going to bring on a lot of really cool, influential people that are going to help you guys basically take that action or take that next step, or just get an insight that's going to help you sort of grow. And that's what this podcast is all about. And what we're going to do from that is we're going to move into sort of the social media aspect, where we're going to look at people's businesses and running ads for them. And that's what why it becomes Purple Ice Cream Productions. That's what Purple Ice Cream is going to represent. It's going to represent change in our industry, and it's going to represent a higher standard and a better way of doing things by bringing amazing people on to share stories to basically inspire change. Alan, thank you so much.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me. First for